Hi there, we're going to talk today a little bit about what clothing you're going to need to wear when you're going ski touring in Scotland. I'll also touch a little bit on consideration of other locations like the Alps. First thing to say is clothing is a really personal thing. We all feel the cold differently, we've all got different comfort levels, so what works for one person may not work for you. So you have to work out what is the best thing for you and how you feel the cold. Some people get cold hands really easily and need thicker gloves, some barely seem to notice it. So that's the first thing, wear what's right for you. The second thing is, wear what's right for the conditions on the day. Depending on the route, depending on the time of the year and what the weather is doing, your options might be very different. And there's a lot of choice in different clothing that you can get. So if you can afford it, you've got the flexibility, go for systems that are going to suit your conditions on the day. But there are certain key things that you're always going to have to consider. Now, the first thing is your base layer, what you're going to wear next to your skin. That should be a wicking material that's got good thermal properties like merino wool or some of the synthetic blends. You're probably going to have a pair of leggings and a top, a long sleeve top. And I'd personally always recommend a long sleeve top with a zip opening at the neck that can help you shed some heat when you're skidding uphill. It's more flexible with the crew neck things, and I always find the roll neck ones a little bit too worn and a bit too constrictive. They come in different weights. What weight is going to be depending on the time of year and how you feel the cold. So after the base layer, you're going to think about mid layers. And dependent again how you feel the cold is going to influence how many mid layers you take and what you wear. So I quite like to often underneath just next to my base layer I'll wear something like a windproof gilet with a little bit of insulation in it, and that'll just help keep the core warm when I'm skinning up. And underneath that you can see that I've actually already got my avalanche transceiver on. A few top tips on avalanche transceivers. First of all, put it on in the morning when you're getting dressed, and turn it on as well, and that way you won't forget when you come to the car park. And the other thing about a transceiver is try and wear it on a layer that's always going to be covered, so particularly important in places like the Alps in spring when it can get really quite warm and you're taking your outer layers off, but you still want the transceiver underneath at least one layer of clothing, and that's to make sure it doesn't get ripped off you in an avalanche. So as well as the gilet, or on a cold day I might not bother with gilet and I might actually for a mid layer just have a fleece, like a micro fleece can be quite good, they're very breathable, they come in lots of different weights and thicknesses, but you don't really have to be quite cold for me to start wearing one of those as well as a base layer and a gilet. Other mid layers I'll have in the rucksack, ready to deploy when conditions require, when you get high and it gets a bit colder. So turning to the outer layer, it's your shell, and that's what's going to protect you from the wind and the rain. And shells these days come in two types. You'll hear talk about hard shell and soft shell, and the difference is a hard shell is fully waterproof and fully windproof, whereas the soft shell will be windproof, but it won't be fully waterproof. It might be a bit shower resistant, but it's not going to stop driving rain penetrating. But it is more breathable and they tend to be a bit more comfortable to wear. So generally in Scotland in winter time, for your jacket, you're definitely going to want a hard shell jacket of some kind. And what you're looking for in a jacket, quite a few things, apart from being hard shell, you're looking for something that is not too heavy, it's got a good selection of pockets for carrying your stuff in, and also other features like pit zips for ventilating. Particularly important in ski touring when you're going to be wearing your jacket skinning uphill, but you're still going to get quite warm. You want to be able to dump the heat. This jacket's got particularly good pit zips, really long, really easy to use. Another key feature in any jacket is the hood. The hood should be a proper mountain hood, and that means it's got a wire peak to help protect your face. Volume adjuster here so you can cinch it down and stop the wind blowing it off, and should be able to zip right up. And again, it'll protect your face from the elements. Just other considerations with the jacket. Probably in winter time, I normally wear my shell all day. And so if I'm expecting to navigate during the course of the day, I'll already have my map compass in the jacket. You can see. So turning to your legs, again it's largely the same set of considerations. Looking for obviously something that's going to keep the elements out. Also got vents. The ski specific ones probably normally have an internal gaiter and a zip kind of that, just to help get the ski boot neck gate will stop snow getting in the top of the boot as well. They have braces, that's a good feature as well, stops them sagging. And yeah, whether you go for soft shell, these are soft shell, or hard shell is going to depend on the conditions. I prefer wearing a soft shell if I can, but if I'm wearing a soft shell and it's looking like there might be snow or it's going to be pretty bad conditions at the top, I'll almost certainly carry a pair of Gore-Tex over trousers with me as well, and pack light. They don't have to be heavy duty ones because you're not going to be wearing that much, hopefully. They're not going to take up too much space in your rucksack, but if conditions are really looking bad, I'll wear hard shell ski pants, fully waterproof, and then I don't have to worry about carrying over trousers. Turning to your extremities, you're going to want something to keep your head warm, and gloves of various different weights depending on what you're doing, and I'll go into that a bit more. But in spring, or if you're in the Alps or something like that, you might find you don't need a full-on woolly hat, but like a fleecy headband just to keep your ears warm. And certainly on really nice days when it's sunny, certainly in the Alps, baseball cap, perhaps even with a neck protector. This one's removable, quite like it. It's also got a good way of cinching it down so the wind doesn't blow off your head. And then if it is sunny, definitely need a pair of sunglasses. So those are some of the kind of wee additional considerations around your extremity. Turning to the rest of the day, you're going up, skinning uphill, it's been quite warm, you're starting to get higher, the wind's picking up, it's getting colder, and you want to start adding layers. This one you have to turn to your rucksack and start getting some of the layers out. Now, again, how much you carry is going to depend on you, depend on the conditions, but I would normally have at least one insulating mid-layer on my pack. This could be a fleece, or in this case, it's a sort of a soft shell jacket. Packs into its own pocket. It's got a windproof hood which will fit under my helmet. It's got some insulation on it, but not too much. And I'm going to put this on underneath my shell jacket. So take the shell off, pop this on, put my shell back on again. That'll give me that bit of extra insulation, and I normally find that is sufficient. If it's a really cold day, that's when I might have an extra micro fleece in my pack as well. So that's what you're going to probably consider, and that's when you might start thinking about getting a thicker pair of gloves on as well. But when you stop, that's when you're really going to start to cool down. So if you stop to eat or sort out a binding or something like that, doing a transition, anything a bit longer, you're going to want to get a warmer layer on. And this is why I always carry a synthetic belay jacket with me as well. And you can get these in down, and down is really great. It's warmer, it's more compressible than the synthetic fills, but it tends to when it gets wet, it becomes a lot less effective. Whereas the synthetic will, regardless of how wet it gets, it's still going to keep you warm. And if it's a stock, it's not too bad. Conditions, I'll just pop it straight on over my shell like this. If it's wet, snowing, I might try and get it on underneath the shell, but you know, it's not very pleasant having to take your shell off to get that layer on. Combined with a group shelter, this will really help keep you warm when you're stopped in an exposed and windy place. So I normally find this too warm to move in though, so it'll only be when I'm stopped. When I come to pants it off, certainly if I'm skinning and almost certainly if I'm skiing down as well, it's going to be too warm, so it's going to take that off and it's going to go back into the rucksack. As well, I mentioned you might want to carry more than one pair of gloves. Certainly I like to carry a thin pair for going up, and then a thicker pair going down. And if the conditions are really looking quite bad, I'll even carry a really thicker, heavier pair of waterproof gloves like that, and I'll really keep my hands warm. If your hands get cold, you might find mitts work for you better, but just bear in mind it's really hard to use your phone if you're using that for navigating, or even using a compass and map. It's more challenging. Other wee bits and things like for your head, I mean, you can see I've got a buff on. I normally wear that all day. Certainly when I'm going uphill, I normally slide it up over my ears and take my hat off in my pocket. If it's really cold, I might take a CC buff as well, or a second buff. But also, when I'm coming to ski down, I like to wear a helmet. So brains. And I find that I really hack can get the pulp under a helmet too warm sometimes as well. So that's when I carry a very lightweight balaclava. Like this, and a helmet. Go on top of that if it's cold. That's when you can think about if your mid layer's got a hood. This one. I'll add an extra layer. And a word on hoods. I mean, you know, lots of jackets come with hoods these days. You just want to be careful. Too many hoods and they can all start to get in the way of one another, so you pop your helmet on. But one thing, if the weather's bad, you're going to want to be wearing goggles as well, and it's always a good idea to put your goggles on before putting your helmet on. And you know, if it's in typical Scottish winter conditions, there's going to be quite a lot of spindrift blowing around, and what you don't want is for your goggles to fill with spindrift. So I do bring a goggle case to help protect the lenses, but also to dry the inside of the lenses if I need to. But you just want to, when you come to get the goggles on, just hold them really close to your helmet. Stop the spindrift from getting in. So I'm holding on, and then just get them on like this. And then make sure they're attached to the helmet. Then that will be me ready to start skiing down. Just a couple of final considerations. I'll also definitely have a mobile phone with me because I use it for navigating as well as my map and compass. And it's got lots of other really useful things on it. I use it for taking my pictures. But you've got to think about waterproofing that. This is actually a waterproof phone, so I don't need a case for it. But if your phone isn't waterproof, then you want a wee case like this, and then perhaps a little thing like this that you can use when you're wearing gloves. It will help use the touchscreen when you're wearing gloves, but it can get pretty fiddly. And where should you carry your mobile phone? Well, you're going to carry it in your pack, but more likely most of us like to have them close to hand for photography or navigation. I like to carry mine in a side pocket like this, and that way it keeps it nicely separated from the transceiver. It should be at least 30 centimeters apart, and it's also keeping it away from my compass as well, because there are magnets in the phone that can disrupt or damage the compass needle. So that's just the final thoughts on phones. Ideally you should be turning your phone off, but in reality if you're using it for navigating it takes too long to keep turning the phone on and off, particularly if you're in a blizzard, so just keep it well separated. Okay, I think that covers everything, apart from at the end of the day when you get back to the car, it's really nice to have a bag with warm, dry clothing waiting for you, and that's the final consideration. So thanks for watching, take care, cheers.